If you're wondering which units are actually worth investing in and which ones are just going to collect dust in your inventory, you're in the right place. In this video, we're ranking the best units in Manhwa Legends with a complete tier list, but we're not stopping there. We'll also break down what makes each unit strong, whether they're built for insane DPS, melting bosses, supporting your team, or making your farming runs much more efficient. Keep in mind that not every powerful looking unit is worth your resources, and some underrated picks can carry your account much further than you'd expect. So if you want to build a stronger team, avoid wasting upgrades, and know exactly which units deserve a spot in your lineup, stick around because we're going through every important pick and explaining where they really belong. I'm quickly moving on to the video, and I'm ranking units in Manhwa Legends. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching. The units in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Pildogang Landlord and Creator. You know a unit is in a weird spot when it makes you smile more than it makes your damage numbers go up. That is exactly where Pildogang, also known as Landlord, lands on this tier list. The whole turret concept is actually pretty entertaining, and watching those turrets do the work feels satisfying at first. The problem is that the actual damage output just cannot keep up with stronger options later in the game. If you somehow end up using this unit for a while, the best trait is Limit Break, but even then, I really would not spend valuable resources investing in it. There are simply much better places to put your time and materials. Then we have Creator, which might be one of the most creative units in the entire game. The ability to double buff sounds absolutely amazing on paper, and honestly, during the early game, it can be surprisingly useful. But once you start reaching tougher content, using Creator efficiently becomes awkward, and getting consistent value out of those doubled buffs is much harder than it first appears. It is one of those units that keeps teasing you with potential without ever fully delivering. If you decide to give it a chance, Swiftness is the trait you should be looking for. Just do not be surprised if Creator eventually spends more time sitting on your bench than carrying your team. The units in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Infernum Phoenix, J-Hope and U-Boxer, Kim Dakjo, Immortal King, and Koera Denoir Noble. Some units refuse to fit into a single role, and Infernum, also known as Phoenix, is a perfect example of that. At first glance, it looks like a burn damage per second specialist, but there is a lot more going on behind the scenes. Infernum increases the burn damage enemies take, making every fire unit on your team hit even harder. On top of that, nearby fire units actually make Infernum stronger as well, creating a nice cycle where everyone boosts each other. The catch is that you really need to build your team around this synergy. If you do, the results can be impressive. If you are planning to invest in Infernum, Limit Break is definitely the trait to aim for. J, also known as Hope, and U, also known as Boxer, are basically two sides of the same coin. Their damage output is very similar, and since both of them are limited units, not everyone will have the chance to use them. Throughout the middle stages of the game, and even the early part of the late game, they perform really well and can carry your team without much trouble. Unfortunately, once you enter Infinite mode and the toughest endgame content, both units start falling behind the strongest damage dealers. Even so, they are still solid picks if you are not quite at the absolute endgame yet. For both of them, Legend is the best trait. Kim Dakjo, also known as Immortal King, earns his place thanks to one of the strongest support abilities in the game. His time stop skill can stun every enemy within range, giving your entire team valuable breathing room during difficult waves. As if that was not enough, his passive abilities allow him to copy skills from other units, making him one of the most versatile characters available. He is not just standing around supporting the team either, because he can also deal respectable damage when needed. If you want to get the most out of Kim Dakjo, Legend is the trait you should be looking for. Finally, there is Koera Denoir, also known as Noble. This is a respectable damage per second unit that brings a little extra utility thanks to the ability to cleanse debuffs from allies. That support effect is definitely more situational than something you will rely on every match, but when the right stage comes along, it can make a noticeable difference. It is not a unit that will completely change your account, yet it is far from useless and has a place in certain team compositions. If you decide to build Koera Denoir, Boss Slayer is the trait that fits this unit best. The units in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Querasha Pestilence, Hayori Princess, Cherry Dancer, and Ancient Regressor. Some units are built to dominate bosses, and Querasha, also known as Pestilence, does exactly that. She works as a hybrid support and damage per sen unit, which already makes her valuable, but her real strength comes from her passive ability. That passive turns her into one of the best boss killers in the entire game, allowing her to melt high health enemies much faster than most other units. She might not be at the absolute top of the meta in every category, but when a boss appears, Kurasha is more than ready to take over. If you want to maximize her potential, Legend is easily the best trait. Hayori, also known as Princess, takes a completely different approach by overwhelming enemies with damage over time effects. Instead of relying on huge instant hits, she constantly cycles through different damage over time types, keeping the pressure on from start to finish. The longer the fight goes, the scarier she becomes because her passive keeps stacking, pushing those damage over time effects to ridiculous levels. Bosses in particular have a very hard time surviving once everything is fully stacked. To get the highest possible damage from Hayori, Boss Slayer is the ideal trait. If you're looking for something powerful without needing to learn complicated mechanics, Cherry, also known as Dancer, is an easy recommendation. She is a straightforward boss killer that performs well from the early stages of the game all the way into the late game. There are no complicated setups or difficult rotations to worry about. Just place her down, let her do her job, and watch boss health bars disappear. That simplicity is exactly what makes Cherry such a reliable option for so many players. When it comes to traits, both Ruler and Assassin are excellent choices depending on your preferred playstyle. Ancient, also known as Regressor, is probably the biggest investment on this tier, and your wallet of one is definitely going to feel it. Thanks to his upgrade and regress mechanic, you can continue pouring resources into him throughout a match, making him stronger and stronger over time. In longer games, that scaling allows Ancient to reach incredible damage numbers, especially when paired with farm units that keep your income flowing. He is even stronger during the earlier stages of progression, but there is another reason he earns an A tier spot. Ancient is required to help Secret Dreamer collect constellations, and since Secret Dreamer is considered the best unit in the game, Ancient ends up being valuable beyond his own damage. For traits, you cannot go wrong with either Legend or Swiftness. The units in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Secret Dreamer Constellation, Songhuen Vessel, Baylord Mimicry, White Wolf Feral, and Beast Primal. Now we are finally talking about the units that completely change how you play the game, and Secret Dreamer, also known as Constellation, sits comfortably at the very top. This is widely considered the strongest unit in Manhwa Legends thanks to incredible full area of effect damage, powerful clones, and the ability to constantly stun enemies with shock. Once Terror of the Stars reaches its maximum stacks, Secret Dreamer also gains a massive critical hit boost, sending the damage through the roof. Raid bosses barely get a chance to fight back before they disappear. Unlocking this unit is actually much easier if you first build Ancient. By reaching the level 50 and level 100 skills on Ancient's skill tree, enemies will begin dropping constellations, which you can then fuse together to obtain Secret Dreamer. As for traits, both Legend and Limit Break are outstanding options. If your only goal is deleting bosses as quickly as possible, Songhuen, also known as Vessel, is the answer. No other unit in the game can match this level of single target damage per second, making Songhuen the undisputed king of boss fights. Whenever a stage is built around taking down one incredibly tough enemy, this unit feels like it was designed specifically for that job. Whether you choose Legend or Boss Slayer as the trait, you are getting one of the strongest boss killers available. Baylord, also known as Mimicry, is another monster, although it reaches that status in a different way. While it is not technically a full area of effect unit, its passive damage spreads so effectively that it often feels like one. That constant extra damage allows Baylord to clear waves incredibly well, while still contributing impressive damage per second against stronger enemies. It also works especially well alongside Beast and other high damage teammates, making it an easy fit in many of the strongest team compositions. For traits, Limit Break and Assassin are both fantastic choices. White Wolf, also known as Feral, is all about stacking critical hit chance as quickly as possible. Once those stacks build up, reaching 100% critical hit chance becomes surprisingly easy, and from that point the damage just keeps climbing. Every critical hit also applies bleed damage over time effects, and those bleeds strengthen White Wolf even further through additional passive bonuses. The result is a unit that snowballs throughout the battle and performs well in practically every game mode. If you are building White Wolf, you cannot go wrong with Limit Break, Assassin, or Legend. Finally, there is Beast, also known as Primal, and sometimes Simple is all you need. Beast enters the game as one of the strongest meta damage per second units available, and continues to dominate throughout almost the entire progression journey. From the early game all the way into the late game, this unit consistently delivers excellent damage without requiring complicated strategies or special setups. That reliability is exactly why Beast remains one of the safest investments you can make. To get the most out of this powerhouse, aim for either Limit Break or Legend as the trait. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.